Iranian oil vessels have reportedly been struck in the Persian Gulf amid escalating hostilities involving Iran, Israel, and the United States. Tankers believed to be transporting crude oil from Iranian terminals were damaged in coordinated strikes, raising fears of a broader disruption to energy flows through one of the world's most critical shipping corridors. Visuals circulating in social media capture moments of massive precision strike at one of the tankers near Bandar Abbas port southwest of Iran. The strike is followed by a powerful explosion and black smoke. According to the report, the hit tanker is one of the 3 Iranian oil tankers that were struck in the waters of the Persian Gulf recently. Recent days have seen several commercial tankers and vessels hit or damaged in Gulf waters as the war has escalated. The Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, IRGC, has openly claimed strikes on tankers that continued to transit the Strait of Hormuz despite Tehran's threats and warnings after the Gulf became a war risk zone. Shipping tracking feeds and maritime security sources indicate that multiple tankers have been damaged off the key choke point, with at least 3 vessels reported struck in the past week as Iran warned no ships would be permitted to pass after U.S. and Israeli strikes against Iranian targets triggered retaliatory operations. Some incidents around the Strait of Hormuz, a passage that carries about 20% of the world's oil supply, have already resulted in crew casualties and injuries. Video footage has been released showing the aftermath of a large-scale strike on Iran's Mehrabad International Airport that destroyed 16 aircraft used by the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps Guards Quds forces. Video footage shared in social media features the airport area and features the struck aircraft that have been destroyed as a result of airstrikes. The Israeli military states that Mehrabad Airport served as a key hub for the Quds force to supply weapons and financial support to the regime's terrorist proxy groups across the Middle East, including Hezbollah in Lebanon. Several Iranian fighter jets that posed a threat to Israeli aircraft operating in Iranian airspace were also targeted, the Israel Defense Forces said. Aircraft loaded with weapons and cash took off from the airport numerous times and landed across the region for the use of the Iranian terror regime's proxies, the military says. As part of the operation, the IDF reported that it carried out strikes destroying 16 aircraft that had reportedly been used to transport weapons to Hezbollah. The military also said it targeted additional military infrastructure located at the airport. In addition, several Iranian fighter jets were hit, which the IDF claimed had the potential to threaten Israeli Air Force aircraft conducting operations within Iranian airspace. The Israeli military also stated that it took precautions ahead of the strikes to limit civilian casualties, such as employing precision-guided weapons, conducting aerial monitoring, and relying on additional intelligence assessments.
خب این از هواپیمایی که توی اینجا زده شده.
The escalation of the conflict in the Middle East and Iran's closure of the Strait of Hormuz in response to the U.S. and Israeli military operation could seriously disrupt global oil supply routes. This threatens not only regular trade, but also the so-called shadow fleet, a network of tankers used by sanctioned countries, including Russia, to evade sanctions. Fox News writes about this. Iranian authorities announced the closure of the strategically important Strait of Hormuz, the narrow sea corridor between the Iranian island of Hormuz and the Omani enclave of Kasab. Tehran has warned that ships passing through the strait could be subject to attack. As a result, oil tanker traffic has sharply declined, as many crews fear missile strikes and military incidents. The escalation of the conflict has affected not only regular trade routes, but also illegal oil transportation schemes. At issue is the so-called shadow fleet, tankers with confusing registration or hidden owners that are used to trade oil from sanctioned countries such as Iran, Russia, and Cuba. These vessels frequently change flags, use offshore companies and complex logistics chains to disguise the origin of the oil and circumvent restrictions. It is noteworthy that the closure of the Strait of Hormuz coincided with the West's increased efforts to combat gray oil trade schemes, which further complicates life for sanctioned countries. Thus, the United States has already effectively imposed a maritime quarantine on oil shipments to Cuba and warned a number of countries, including Mexico, against supplying energy resources to regimes under sanctions. European allies have also stepped up controls on vessels linked to the shadow fleet. Recently, Belgian military forces intercepted the tanker MT Ethera, which is linked to shady oil shipping schemes. The vessel was stopped in the North Sea and sent to the port of Zeebrugge under military escort. According to investigations, the vessel may be linked to the son of high-ranking Iranian politician Ali Shamkhani. The Shamkhani family controls a network of tankers used for oil trade between Iran and Russia. The price ceiling mechanism for Russian oil, introduced by Western countries, puts additional pressure on Russian exports. Last month, the cap was lowered to around $44 per barrel, which should keep Russian oil below global market prices. Experts believe that tightening controls on illegal transportation could have a serious impact on countries that actively use these schemes. China remains one of the largest buyers of Iranian oil, despite sanctions, according to available data. Russia, meanwhile, could face a further reduction in oil revenues, potentially reducing the financial resources available to continue the war against Ukraine. Verbal support is all Vladimir Putin has been able to offer his allies, Syria's Bashar al-Assad, Venezuela's Nicolas Maduro, and now Iran's Ali Khamenei. The Russian president has watched them fall from power one after another without lifting a finger to defend them. At first glance, Russia's powerlessness reflects a strategic downgrading both regionally and globally, according to Tatiana Kostueva-Jean, a researcher at IFRI, the French Institute of International Relations. In Syria, Venezuela, and through the loss of influence in resolving the conflict between Armenia and Azerbaijan, Moscow has proven incapable of protecting its partners and influencing the outcomes. In the summer of 2025, for example, Donald Trump bluntly rejected Russia's proposal to mediate in Iran. The very existence of these partnerships and Moscow's potential reaction are not factors considered by Washington, which clearly signals its view of Moscow's secondary strategic role, researchers said.